What's up guys, it's Tommy here and welcome to a huge football news video. This Newcastle takeover by Saudi Arabia is going to reshape English football. What do you think about this? I feel very sick reading the news that this takeover is going through, and you just can't comprehend as a normal person the wealth that this Saudi Arabia Sovereign Wealth Fund, the PIF as they call it, has, because the Man City owners, they have about $24 billion worth of wealth. This Saudi Arabia Wealth Fund has $320 billion worth of money. They could actually buy like Liverpool Football Club 100 times over and they still would have money left over. Just think about that for a second. They could buy 100 Manchester Uniteds, 100 Liverpools, 100 Arsenals, and they could still have money left over. It just blows my mind how much money they have. And also it blows my mind that the Premier League is letting them in. But the ship has already sailed, in my opinion, when they let Roman Abramovich, who also got his money questionably. And just to put into context and comparison, Roman Abramovich has about 14 billion pounds worth of funds, or $14 billion, and these guys have $320 billion worth of money. It's just staggering, the amount, and they could do anything if it's not restricted. But we know that financial fair play is pretty much a joke. If you can buy the best lawyers in the world, like Manchester City have done, you can get away with it basically. Newcastle also have 3 years to basically spend a lot of money, because for the next 3 years the financial fair play won't kick in, but after 3 years you can only have a loss of 105 million pounds, I think, and they already have 30 or 40 million profit. Don't get me wrong, I like Newcastle United, I like the fans, I like the stadium, I like how passionate they are, and they deserve better owners than Mike Ashley. But if I was a Newcastle fan, I would have very conflicting emotions about this, because of course you want Newcastle to be competing to get into Europe. You want them to challenge for an FA Cup or a League Cup title. But this Saudi Arabia Wealth Fund, and it's absolute joke that they could convince the Premier League that it was not state-owned, when the owner of this wealth fund is the president of Saudi Arabia, or the Prince of Saudi Arabia, whatever you want to call him. And I don't even want to say his name, because this guy is responsible for murdering thousands of people, including many women. Where are the women and the human rights activists right now? Where are the LGBTQ activists right now? Where are the Premier League is having this campaign, say no to racism, of course, and kneeling before games, and they are kneeling before games against discrimination. Where are all these advocates for human rights activists when this Saudi Arabia guy, this president, is responsible for so many human rights atrocities, so many crimes committed against Saudi workers in Saudi Arabia, women in Saudi Arabia? They have very diminished rights, women in Saudi Arabia. They can't be allowed to take over just a Premier League club just like that. But there is an amount of money when all that is just swept aside, and they are welcome in the Premier League by open arms. And it just makes me sick, honestly, because this football is now, I think, too far gone, in that it's all about business, it's all about the money, it's all about who can put the most money on the table. And if it makes the Premier League richer, if it makes the Premier League a better product, a better brand, then they will just sweep aside these human rights atrocities and all kinds of crimes committed, the blood money and like everything. It doesn't matter. as long as the brand is going forward and going upwards, as long as the brand of the Premier League is getting bigger, it's getting richer, then they will accept these owners. And I think they should have said no to Roman Abramovich when they wanted to take over Chelsea. They should have said no to the Manchester City owners who wanted to take over Man City, I mean their current owners. So what do you think about this? Honestly, guys, I'm sick of this, because if you read up on the human rights violations and war crimes that Saudi Arabia has done in the past, and they are doing it right now, it's pretty stomach churning. Those close to the deal argue that the piracy issue over illegal streams in Saudi Arabia was a huge red flag, and that the delay was simply about Saudi Arabia convincing the Premier League it was a step removed from PIF. I heard Saudi Arabia paid $1 billion in compensation fees to 19 different TV broadcaster companies, basically for these piracy issues, because Qatari owned beIN Sports was illegally streamed in Saudi Arabia by a state-owned company, just to spite them, because Saudi Arabia is big rivals of Qatar and United Arab Emirates, and this is basically a Middle Eastern rivalry between countries played out in the world, in the European football stage, on the European football stage, and in the Premier League as well. And who knows, maybe Bahrain and other Middle Eastern countries will try to take over other clubs in the Premier League, and we could have all-out war in the Premier League of who can win the Premier League title, spending the most money. And do we really want the Premier League to turn into this? I personally don't. But I don't make the decisions, obviously, so I just can give you my opinion. I also accept Newcastle fans' argument that why should they have to hold the moral compass of a nation when the United Kingdom does 8.5 billion pounds worth of trade with the Saudi Arabians every year, who sell arms, who sell weapons to a lot of countries. And those days are gone that the Premier League clubs are owned by English or British businessmen. They are not even owned, some of them are not even owned by European businessmen. Liverpool are owned by American owners. But if you compare the FSG, the American owners, to these guys, you compare a chocolate thief to a terrorist like Osama bin Laden. It's just they are not on the same level. And the Premier League is international, it's not English anymore, you could argue. It's the Wild West, and that now meets the Middle East. Now multiple countries in the Middle East own Premier League football clubs. I just can't wrap my head around it. I grew up watching the Premier League in the early 2000s, where Manchester United and Arsenal were fighting out for the Premier League title. Arsenal haven't won the Premier League for like 12 years, 13 years. Man United haven't won the Premier League for 7 years. And in the last 10, 15 years, that's 15 years since Roman Abramovich came into Chelsea and they won it for first time in the Premier League, 2005. So last like 15, 16 years, Chelsea and Man City won a lot of Premier League titles. And the other clubs, yes, they won 1 or 2 here and there. Now it looks like the Premier League will be a playground of the richest billionaires in the world. I don't like it that football has come to this, I will be honest. Roman Abramovich, you could justify him taking over Chelsea because he was a private businessman. Man City got taken over by a country. United Arab Emirates own Manchester City, and now Saudi Arabia own Newcastle United. Qatar own Paris Saint-Germain. How can they let this happen? Money talks, and that's it. That's the bottom line. And I'm a big fan of capitalism. I'm a big fan of people breaking out of their previous maybe poor upbringing and making a new career for themselves. There has to be a line drawn of what is allowed and what is not allowed. And these guys, if you read up and really do your research on what Saudi Arabia is all about, you will find a lot of traditions and a lot of customs there that is just not compatible and not allowed in Western culture, Western civilization. And they just come into England, completely different culture. And I think because England already has a lot of economical and other relations with Saudi Arabia, especially like trade agreements, and all kinds of companies from Saudi Arabia are already in the United Kingdom economy. This is just the culmination of all of that. It's not it doesn't start now. Saudi Arabia already have a lot of contracts with the United Kingdom government, with a lot of UK companies, and because it's all about the money in the modern world, they already have a lot of ties to the UK. So this is just another one. And is this another whitewashing of their image? I think so. Man City are doing the same thing. They are whitewashing their image through sport, through the Premier League, because the Premier League is seen worldwide. It's the most popular league in the world, and it reaches the most people in the world. And I think from just a footballing point of view, it will be fascinating to see how Newcastle United will rebuild themselves. But of course, when you have even more unlimited amounts of money than Manchester City, you can pretty much not really fail, and you don't have any risk. If you sign a £50 million player and he flops, what do? You can cancel his contract, pay him another 20 million to just go away, and you can sign another 50 million player, and you can keep doing this over and over and over again until you find the players that make your club successful. And that's what Manchester City has done. That's what Chelsea have done. Now Chelsea are operating on a much more like financially viable and financially secure and sustainable way. Manchester City are still a joke. They are spending ridiculous amounts of money. They wanted to sign Harry Kane for 100 million after signing Jack Grealish for 100 million. And these are the kind of transfer fees that Newcastle could do, but their owners and this investment wealth fund, they are promising to do this gradually. And of course it will be very interesting to see who they appoint, which manager takes over. I think they should get a manager first who can not just make the playing side better, but also who can basically revamp the whole football club. Somebody like Ralf Rangnick, who worked at RB Leipzig and Schalke before, that he would be the perfect man for this job, because he was a football director before, and not just a coach, but who can oversee the whole like restructuring of the football club. They need to build a new training ground, because I heard that training ground is in a pretty poor condition, to compare to other Premier League clubs. And of course, I'm happy for the Newcastle fans. Don't get me wrong, they suffered 14 years of Mike Ashley, who was probably the worst owner when it comes to developing and improving a football club in the whole of the Premier League. And of course, I'm a fan of the investment into the area, because Newcastle is a unique football club. Their stadium is right in the middle of the city, and if they redevelop the area and invest hundreds of millions of pounds into the area, that's a good thing. And Man City have done pretty well off the pitch, redeveloping the Manchester area and building a state-of-the-art training complex, and also new stadium. Newcastle don't really need a new stadium. Maybe they could expand St. James's Park to a 65,000 stadium. And I feel conflicted about this deal, because I'm delighted in the departure of Mike Ashley and the fans getting back their club, and Newcastle fans getting back probably to near the top of English football is a good thing from a footballing perspective. But also I'm really uncomfortable at a famous football club taken over by a state who are so regularly called to account by Amnesty International. And Amnesty has cited all manners of transgressions, including that the Saudi Arabia-led coalition in the long running armed conflict in Yemen continued to be implicated in war, crimes and other serious violations of international law, and you let these guys march into the Premier League to own a football club. And these allegations are very, very serious. The CIA themselves claimed that Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, who is the owner now of Newcastle United and who is the president of the Saudi Arabia, he approved the murder of the journalist Jamal Khashoggi. You guys must remember his name from years ago, which was a very, very gruesome, brutal case. They dismembered his body in the Saudi Arabia embassy with a bone saw. It's grim stuff. I can't even imagine what some of the opposing fans will chant against Newcastle United and their owners. These owners are as bad as the Man City owners, if not even worse. So I appreciate the Newcastle fans' celebration, but also I feel great skepticism over the legally binding assurances from Saudi Arabia about not having control of the club, when clearly the PIF, this wealth fund, is an arm, however long, of the state, the Saudi Arabia state. And if it becomes apparent that Saudi Arabia is pulling the strings, directors could be disqualified. But I will still support Liverpool, I will still love and watch the Premier League. I just wanted to give my honest opinion on this, and let me know where do you stand on this debate in the comments below. And thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed this. See you later. Goodbye.